My favorite place to start with the interviews is always with like a little bit of company history. In this case, I was actually hoping that you could tell me a little bit about the connection between Shaka Code and Haichi, as I see that you're like a CEO and founder of both.
Yeah. Yeah. So Shaka Code is my Ruby on Rails consulting business. And we've been around since 2012.
Mhm.
And so what happened was around 2015, I really wanted to build my own product and not just work for other companies. And so we started, and being out here in Hawaii, vacation rentals are of interest.
Mhm.
So I started working on some different startup ideas, and we kind of worked on a few ideas that didn't work. I bought a lot of ads. I learned about how buying ads work for a product, and I also learned you can lose a lot of money, not only building a product, but buying ads. And I decided that I really wanted to, I need to find something useful to do in
Mhm.
terms of a product. And so we were experimenting in the vacation rental space. And while we could do some sort of affiliate deals and buy an ad on Google and charge some property manager, I quickly figured out I would end up spending $5 in ads to make $1 in revenue as like a best case scenario. And that was just going to go nowhere. But what was really worse about that, what really just didn't sit well with me, is I didn't find any value for anybody.
Mhm.
Sure, I can promote a book direct deal. And what we were doing was we were focusing on book direct deals in Hawaii. There's a lot of sites out there that, when you go search on Google, you'll find the big sites, Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking, but there are tons and tons of little sites in different areas. Some of them will cover a bigger area, and they're all quote unquote save money with book direct.
Yeah.
Yes, and you will eliminate the fees, but you're going to have a lot less options, and there are other potential issues. So, and I was trying to work in that book direct space. And what it meant was I had to get enough traffic to my site that was interested in Hawaii. And then I'd have to present these Hawaiian listings. People, they would have to book, and oh, great, I got a little affiliate fee. And that's how most of the, travel like web works.
Yeah.
And while I was doing that, I was going, and then what happened about a number of years ago was that VRBO used to be much more of an advertising site for all the properties. So all the property managers went on VRBO and they would not necessarily even keep their calendars updated. They would use one VRBO listing, platinum, top level. Great, it's at the top, or they compete each other. So that was what VRBO did. They charge for placement.
Yeah.
And then Airbnb came along and they go, you know what? We're going to handle the transaction, do what's best for the guest, and we're going to make a lot more money doing it.
Mhm.
So that what happened is VRBO got on the bandwagon. They got rid of their old model and they became a booking site. And then, so what does that mean? All these managers with their places, they're on Airbnb, they were on VRBO. Now they're going to be end up just, there's going to be a commission. The managers actually, and guests don't know this, but the hosts actually have to pay a commission to the platform. And then what the platforms did was brilliant. What Airbnb did was it's free for the host to
Mhm.
list on Airbnb because we'll charge the guests.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a charge regardless, right? Someone's paying.
Yeah.
So VRBO figures that out. They start doing the same thing. Great. And then what happened? Whoa, same place on VRBO and Airbnb at big differences in prices.
Mhm.
Thing, who wouldn't want to know, right?
Yeah.
And I tried searching around myself to figure it out. Could I figure out which one was here, which one? It's like, this is really hard. Why is it so hard? When you go search on, say, Airbnb, like we just did a search for Vail over January, 730 places available in a little tiny map area, right? Airbnb shows you 18 places at a time on the map. And they got 15 next page, next page, next page, next page you can go through. That's kind of, and the locations, they protect the privacy of the owner. They're not exactly the same
They don't tell
location.
you exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, that would be pretty tedious, right? To match them up between the platforms. And I go, but what if we could do that? Right? Who wouldn't want to know? And
Yeah.
that's basically the product that we have, which enables a traveler just to go punch in a URL, copy the URL from Airbnb, punch in our site, and we get the high cheap page. And you can go see if it's on VRBO. We expanded to Booking because a lot of international listings are only Airbnb or Booking and not VRBO. Then what we did was we put in this magic search feature because one of my engineers was playing around with things and saw like, oh, is there a way we could find the book direct deals? Because maybe you might want to consider book direct, especially if it's a bigger property manager. And that's kind of, does that kind of give you a little bit of a feeling for like,
Oh,
what properties have, how we develop what we got?
yeah,
So
no, absolutely. And like, I mean, we talked a little bit before I started recording on this, but I mean, I think like it's one of those, it's one of these ideas that I love because it seems like obvious, like after you hear it, you know what I mean? Like that's always a good sign, or like when you're solving your own problem that you know everybody else has as well, you know, and it seems like you definitely stumbled upon something like brilliant in that respect, and like you're finding ways to like surface all of this while also showing all of the taxes and fees involved and giving people
right,
true sense of what they're actually going to pay on these platforms.
right, because that's what matters is what your credit card gets charged, right? Uh,
Exactly. Uh, actually, let's see. So I'm trying to figure out where I want to go next because I know we talked about a lot of things before, but before I was recording. So, um, let's talk about that magic search feature because I think it's really
yeah,
interesting. Especially because like I even kind of before I knew about Haichi, I even noticed that too. Like you would see the same photos on both Airbnb and Verbo, and it's like, wait a second, that place looks familiar, and then you find it's the exact same place.
yeah.
So I'm curious, like how well, let me rephrase. Like, I do want to talk about Magic Search a little bit more in depth, but I'm curious about how much prices can really vary from unit to like the same unit on different platforms, whether it's on Airbnb, Verbo, or like booking directly. Like, do you have any kind of stats around that, or any kind of anecdotal like
So
story shared that shows how much of a disparity there is, or how much savings can be available here?
so I've got to go back to my screen share,
Yep.
which I thought was just kind of so much fun, was just all I did was go right over here to Airbnb, 781 places. The second one in the list, I clicked on Townhouse in Vale. Price got crushed down. That manager's hungry, down to 381 a night. And let me see if I find that place over on my other tab here. And yeah, and this was oh, which one was it? It was on VRBO, and sometimes it's like, oh, there we go, right there. Split it up like this so you could see at the same time. Obviously, the same place right there, same exact images, right?
Sure.
This one's 6160 on VRBO,
Great. Nice.
41.5.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
killer is that?
That's like nearly $2,000, right? What's the math on that? 19 something?
6160 minus 4185. 4186 round up, 1974, basically $2,000.
That's for 8 days. So per day, what are we looking at there? If you don't mind
Yeah.
doing that
So
math real
that's
quick.
8 nights. Yeah. So that's savings per night is $247 per night. That'd buy dinner for four people almost. You got
Yeah,
free dinner by booking on Airbnb, right?
that's a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So how killer is that? So can they vary a lot? Heck yeah, right? And how
Yeah.
are you going to feel if your friend told you about Hai Chi after you booked it on VRBO and you did a quick check,
And you
right?
found out that you just spent an extra couple grand that you didn't have to. Yeah.
And that would
Well,
be like,
how are your
actually,
friends gonna feel too, especially if they had to pay like a portion of that trip too? So
that's right. That's right. You're splitting up that four people, like everyone paid $500 more for the trip, right?
they're probably not gonna let you book another trip for them at that point.
Right.
Uh,
And so we're making it way better. And then we also looked at an example where you're on Airbnb and there's one that's on Avant Stay here.
that's like a
And
direct, right? Yeah.
yeah, and this one's direct right there. And this one, like as you were mentioning, we have to keep clicking this darn reserve fee to see the price, right?
Actual price, yeah, because they always have
Yeah.
the hidden fees and the taxes and the cleaning fees.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. They do that. And then and that's something we show in Chi. And then with the magic search took us right over to the Avant Stay place there, and we could see 6242 right there. So I'll do that and I'll bring it over on the same screen so we could see right there our beautiful Cloud9, the images match, right? And what's the difference there? We got 6240 rounded up 43 minus 6893. So $650 savings, ka-ching.
Yeah, not quite as huge as the other one, but still significant for sure. Definitely shows the value of doing your homework and the value of Haichi for being able to surface this information without having to click around and look at all these sites independently. And even knowing that they're on multiple sites, I mean, I think that's another thing. Like, just being able to know that this is something that you're going to be able to find on, two different major platforms and then maybe even its own platform. So
And then the thing was like you're asking about the magic search.
yeah.
So what we found last year was that Google offers image search capabilities. And with Google image search, you could actually then go and find the places, but it's really hard to use the Google image search and put in additional search terms that are really going to narrow down the choices. So one of my engineers was playing around with that and just hacked something together. It's like, wow, that works so well.
Yeah.
And what a huge value because, like, first of all, it's hard to do on desktop. I could not figure out how to do it on a mobile phone. And it even
Mhm.
works on a mobile phone to do a search. And so you can find these direct stays.
I think the magic, I mean, not to take your term there, but I think the really magical thing that you found out about that, and it's something that I think, most people who work in this space probably already know, but that when when somebody's showing a unit on one of these platforms, they're going to get a bunch of professional photographers out there, or maybe a professional photographer, but they're going to get the same photos and they're going to get those, glow, like the glow up version of like whatever their place looks like, and they're going to have that professionally done, and then they're going to use those same photos on everywhere where they try to advertise that site. So it's really smart that you're like looking for, like, you're probably using a lot of the same technology that they're trying to like use to identify robots and stuff, like which one is like the the stoplight photo or whatever, but basically like taking an apples to apples comparison of like the same image, and then like using that to find where else it's listed and how much it's listed for. So
Well, that's kind of deep inside like the secret sauce of kind of how the sausage is made. But
yeah.
we kind of figure out everything between the different sites. And it's pretty obvious, what are the different ways you could do. But with
Yeah.
Magic Search, what we wanted to do then was expand the universe to everything that Google scrapes.
Hmm.
So we can't, I mean, there's a million different direct book stays
Yeah.
sites, right? And we would have to we'd have to figure out each one. And sure, we could match it up on that site. But instead, what we did was something that was so useful and so simple was we're just facilitating our users to go over to Google and get the right search results.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. So, I want to make sure we talk about some of your other features and products. And, I know we already talked a little bit before, but not for the purposes of the interview. But I want to talk about the Chrome extension, because I think that's definitely probably even more helpful, just because like it's using a lot of what you've already come up with, but finding a way to pull it in like as you're shopping instead of like having to like copy and paste everything in there. So tell me a little bit about that extension and the value that you think it adds to Taichi.
So in terms of the Chrome extension, what we figured out was that great, we're unique. We got the copy paste. You can check it before you book it, right? And I was like, okay, then I was just like, people always want better, right? And I'm like, well, copy paste, guys, can't you just like, make it just work like whatever magically? And I'm like, well, okay, why don't we have a Chrome extension? Because we can actually display the information just like other Chrome extensions, like some of you have used Honey, for example, or Capital One Shopping or Rakuten. So there's a lot of these shopping little Chrome little widgets that go on your screen and they go, hey, we got a deal for you. And so that way, with the Chrome extension, you can be on your laptop and browse around Airbnb, browse around VRBO while you're browsing around. You'll be able to see, is it cross-listed on the other site? You even do a magic search right from within Airbnb and boom, see that, launch the Google search and see if you got a direct book option. So
Yeah.
it's just the evolution of the copy paste and made it, I think, just so much better.
Mhm.
There's another feature which is so killer in the Chrome extension. That is that when you got a map search in Airbnb and maybe you put a bunch of filters, I want air conditioning, I want a hot tub, click the button, boom, we open up the same map on VRBO for you. Same dates, same price filters, all that stuff.
With all the filters on, that's awesome. Yeah.
Right. Because in our research, we figured out that the big sites are working super hard give you a first page view of these are your best choices in terms of what they have for inventory.
Mm. Yeah.
That's yeah, so that's why, okay, go ahead.
I wanted to talk about that feature that we talked about that your team's working on. It sounds like it's coming live soon, but this idea, and I don't know if this is the final name necessarily, but that the idea of the trip list, like the idea of um, the collaborative nature of planning trips. So like giving people a chance to not only show their friends that they might be traveling with, their family that they might be traveling with, all of these options, but then also like all the price breakdowns and just like the availability too, because that's always such a thing when you're looking on these platforms. Like you find this perfect place and it's like, oh well, it's booked like one of the 8 days that we're trying to go there, so we can't do that one. So anyway, just like kind of going through that trip list idea and like what that's going to offer for everyone.
I was thinking about, so Chrome extension was what came after copy paste, and then people go, it doesn't work on my phone. Oh, only a super techie person is going to even know what a Chrome extension is. And then so I was thinking, oh gosh, what could I do? And then I thought, oh, Airbnb and Booking, and actually, I think even before VRBO used to do it, they used to let you share your list. VRBO calls it trip board, Airbnb calls it a wish list, and Booking calls it your favorites. Anyway, you go on those platforms, they give you page one of here's what we think you should book. Go click that little heart button, bookmark the ones that you really are interested in. And then because they give you a share link for your friends, well, we can actually pull it. We can take a look at that link. We pull it into Haichi, and boom, you've got a list that you've got on Airbnb. You can see it in Haichi, no Chrome extension or anything fancy, no copy paste. You can see if it's cross-listed on the other site. You can see if the availability like changes because you can filter by the dates. You can even do even some more advanced filtering if you want and narrow down your choices. So basically, we're doing what you did with copy paste, way better. And then we're going to add some collaborative features to it so that a group planning a trip will be able to see their options in one place from the big platforms.
Yeah, that's great. Another feature that you brought up before the interview started that I thought was interesting was this idea of the alerts. So can you tell me kind of what you guys are planning on that front?
Yeah, so what we're doing is that so I'm also a host for rentals. I talk to a lot of hosts, and what happens when you're a host? Well, you start getting hungry sometimes, especially if it's maybe like 4 weeks out and you haven't booked a prime week.
Yeah.
What do? Slash your prices, right? Well, who wouldn't want to know and be the first to know if that was you were interested in going to this place and a price got dropped,
Mm.
right? So what we're doing with our trip list is not only can you have a static view of your trip list and see when and see what's there when you go into Haichi, but we're going to enable our users to configure an alert. So that way, as the price drops, boom, you'll get an alert. Maybe also, maybe you pick 10 places and the all of a sudden, maybe only now 8 are available, 2 of them got booked up, get an alert. So
Yeah.
this is great information for planning a trip.
And you can put stuff on there that might not be available, but then would be alerted if it became available as well. Is that part of what you mentioned too?
When you put together a trip list, it's just a collection of listings that you like.
Yeah.
So, and then you're gonna, okay, hey, maybe we'll go the first week in January to Vail. Maybe we'll go the second week. So you can go right in our trip list, just like the other platforms. You could change your dates. You'll see what's available and what's not. And what we're going to be doing is giving people alerts on those changes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Uh, I see. Oh, actually, this is probably an obvious question, but I just want to double check. So I know you started this in Hawaii, and you're mostly focused on Hawaiian direct rentals, but um, I assume with Airbnb and Verbo being, I think, at least national, maybe even global in some cases, like which markets does this cover?
Absolutely. So great question. So the site used to be named Hawaii Chi,
Hmm.
and Chi
Wondering
comes
about
from
the name of that actually.
yeah, so it's Hawaii Cheese. So what happened? Do you remember I told you the original motto was we were trying to support direct bookings in Hawaii. So we wanted a name that had Hawaii for SEO. And we were trying to think of, Hawaii, everything sort of vacation, whatever, and you can never remember it. And then a surfing buddy of mine would always go chi when he catches a wave. And then I was thinking, I kind of Googled it and it's like, oh, that's available, Hawaii Chi. And I think even after that, I saw the movie Moana. So if you've ever seen Moana, it's Chi-hoo, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
She who, it's like basically the Samoan word for excitement, kind of a, war chant.
Uh,
And, which I should hope is the feeling that someone's going to get if they save $2,000 for that week in Vail, right?
yep,
Why not, right? So it used to be called Hawaii Chi. And then when we first started doing, and we started trying to figure out how we can get people over to Hawaii Chi, we started doing the comparison. And then Hawaii got shut down in COVID. And I bought the short version of the domain name, Hai Chi.
mm,
And I go, you know what, guys, Hawaii shut down. We're going completely global. We're figuring out how to, process the whole world's data. Name became Hai Chi, get the whole world of data. And
yeah,
so kind of the name. And in terms of what markets are we focused on, we actually started off whole world with Airbnb and VRBO, but then a lot of markets, VRBO doesn't exist. So it's Booking, Airbnb mainly, and Booking.com. So one of my engineers really wanted us to support South America. So we got Booking in there. So it's really the whole world. We do have plans. We're going to be localizing things. We already support multiple currencies. And eventually we're going to be doing language translations for all the parts of the app.
oh,
So
that's
how's
awesome.
that?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. Big plans. It sounds like you guys have your devs have your hands full for sure. But I'm sure seems like the sky's the limit in terms of like what you're able to kind of keep introducing as far as new product features. Speaking of which, actually that's a question I always like to ask is like how your team um listens to your clients, like like how like what channels you use to gather information in terms of like feedback on like which features they love, which ones they think that might be a new idea that you could pursue. Like how do you like which channels you use, but then how do you use that information in terms of like, brainstorming new ideas, I guess.
So we probably could do a lot better in terms of feedback we get from the outside. And I'm in the technology space, so I know all the different ways you can do this, whether it's user interviews, just like I'm talking to you. There's also a lot of we get data in the app in terms of what people are using. We come up with ideas. Maybe we might do drawings of them. Maybe I might show you, hey, Adam, I think you're really influential in like, the space that we're in. What do you think about this idea? How does it work? But to be honest with you, a lot of it is just my own intuition. It's just, I find this useful. This is what I want to use.
Yeah.
Build it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's really it. I think years ago, I didn't have as much confidence as I've got because nobody did copy and paste. Just nobody did that for travel. It was all about a map search.
Mm.
And and we kept trying to do it. We kept trying to do it, and we still offer it. But it's definitely not emphasized in the product. And why? Because it's just too hard to do. I knew intuitively it was too hard to do. And I also knew intuitively especially Airbnb is just doing such an amazing job at not only filtering, but prioritizing. Why don't we complement what the other platforms do? And
Yeah.
there's so many other platforms that are like, hey, Adam, here's your list of places to go in Hawaii. And all they do is put a cookie on your machine so they can get a commission. That's
Yeah.
number one optimization they've got. My optimization is I want you, Adam, to get a heck of a lot of value and tell your friends. That's it.
Yeah. Get a great deal. And yeah, I mean, obviously you're a land or I don't know if you call that a landlord if you're just renting out properties. I guess a property. What is the term here?
Is the one that kind of manages places. Yeah.
Yeah, so clearly like you have your relevant experience that would help hone those instincts for what people are looking for sure. So um
Well, I
let's see.
think people
Good.
don't know. A lot of people, like, if you know the property management side, there's a lot of things that you might not know as guests, like, basically like how the prices move. I mean, a vacation rental that's, not getting books, like lettuce in the grocery store gets thrown out when it gets old.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
There's no revenue from that, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. Like if you have a unit and it goes unbooked, like that's just, nothing, So, it's like you hear about this with a lot of travel booking, like with planes, even or cruises. It's like you could tell that the operators, like when they see a big dearth in like filled seats or your units or whatever it is, that's when they like really slash prices and they start giving those great deals out. So that's why I think that alert idea is such a good idea for sure. So
Cool.
um, Yeah, I mean, as far as the interview, I think just to close it out, because I think we have plenty of great stuff here, and just using your site to look for additional details. But I always like to just like open it up and see if there's anything that we haven't talked about yet that you want to make sure gets in, but also maybe if there's something like new or upcoming that you're able to share.
Well, one thing I want to, there is one other thing that's in the site
Yeah.
is that my goal on the site is to give travelers the best information. And part of that we were able to achieve with Magic Search when property managers have their own websites.
Mhm.
There are lots of Airbnb hosts out there, for example, or any of the platforms, and they do direct bookings, but they just are not getting enough business to justify paying for a website when they're just, they know all the traffic. What happens if you have a website? You got to maintain it. You got to learn SEO. You might want to learn about performance marketing and market your website, maybe get active on social media. And then guess what? You probably still hardly get anything, right? So it's not worth the effort. So what we want to do is we want to give those small managers a way to also easily take direct bookings. And we've done the first critical step of that, which is we have a verification mechanism. So I know we talk mostly about the traveler side, but if you're a host and you are open to taking direct bookings, please go verify your listing. And that way, because if we didn't have this verification system, anybody could say they manage a listing, and that's basically scams.
Yeah.
But we have a clear way that guests can negotiate a direct deal as well. So I think right now we need a lot more hosts to adopt that. But if that takes off, then there's going to be a lot more direct booking options for guests.
Yep, I like that. Um, actually, one thing that I didn't ask, and it seems relevant. I don't want you to necessarily give me your whole secret sauce if you don't want to, but how does your team monetize? It seems like it's a free tool. I assume if somebody books through Haichi, there's some kind of like affiliate kind of
So,
price.
great question. How do we monetize this, right? So back to my original example of when I was trying to do a conventional travel site, how do you monetize? You do it from affiliate links. And then
Yeah,
you are giving basically the world a product that nobody really wants, but maybe they'll click on one of your affiliate links and get a cookie on their machine, right?
yeah,
And then I thought, okay, well, travel ads are so expensive, so that kind of didn't work. What I want to do is I want to basically turn it upside down and build a product that's so useful that people like you, Adam, want to talk to me about.
yeah,
So I solved the problem of how do we get people to our site by being useful. It's a revolutionary concept, right?
yeah.
And so then, okay, but how do we monetize? Well, how does any like what any site that gets a lot of traffic, your site, for example, like you might have Google ads, right? So we've got some of that. It's not great monetization. And all I can say is in the future, we're looking at ways we're going to monetize the site. Another way the site has helped, it's a great example of what my technology firm Shaka Code does.
Mhm.
And we're able to gather data on the internet from literally any site out there.
Yeah.
So in the future, I'm also going to be promoting a bit just the fact that, this is a Shotcode product and you might want to use our consulting services as well. And we'll help you gather data, especially with all the AI machine learning. There's probably a few entrepreneurs out there that have some ideas and we can help them implement those ideas and see if they work.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that sounds good, and yeah, it sounds like that could evolve, but I think like focusing on the quality product is definitely a great way to approach it because if you have like an amazing product that everybody finds value in, like it's like there's got to be a way to like turn that into a super profitable business. Like there's no doubt about that. So,
That's
um,
my vision.
yeah, for sure.